Very good morning, students. As I had mentioned that whatever part was a little not discussed in the class, though we had completed almost the entire chapter, but then a little understanding and distinction between the different disorders I'm going to be mentioning right now. So when we talk about childhood disorders, we talk about the behavioral and developmental disorders. During the development in the early years, there are disorders which are going to be there, but maybe it will not be that easy to identify. Now, what are the causes of these behavioral or developmental disorders? Children have less understanding and they have not yet developed a stable sense of identity, nor do they have an adequate frame of reference regarding the reality, the possibility, and the value. They are unable to cope with the stressful events which happen in their life. And they are unable to cope with these issues and challenges, because of which it will be reflected in behavioral and emotional problems. Because what we see is the behavior of the child. What we see is what is happening and how the child is now. Even in behavior, there could be some internalizing disorders, some externalizing disorders, which means not that every time we will be able to see outside. There might be a lot of issues which we might not be able to identify when it is going on inside. Now, talking about this person, he has identified, one psychologist had identified, you can say 18 batch, he identified two factors, important factors. That is the externalization and internalization, which include the majority of childhood behavior problems. So when I say externalizing disorders, it means under controlled problems include behaviors that are disruptive, often aggressive, often aversive to others, and in the child's environment. So maybe you are able to see everything outside. बाहर नजर आएगा वो behavior बच्चे का. But when you say internalizing disorder, which means over controlled problems, those conditions which maybe the child experiences inside, within himself or within herself. It could be depression. बाहर आराम से पता नहीं चलेगा कि बच्चा डिप्रेस्ड है. हाँ, कैसे पता चलेगा? Maybe, when the child is too much sad, there is a lot of anxiety going on, but then child does not know how to show that, और वो एक साइड में बैठ जाएगा. A discomfort that may not be evident to others, but internally the child is suffering. So externalizing disorders are ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, conduct disorder, oppositional defiant disorder. These three are externalizing disorders in children. Internalizing disorders in children are separation anxiety disorder, जिसको हम sad भी बोलते हैं, and childhood depression. So there is a myth कि शायद बच्चों को डिप्रेशन नहीं होता है. However, that is not true. So when I talk about externalizing disorders, and the very first one is ADHD, here the two main features we talk about under ADHD are inattention and hyperactivity. But when I say inattention and hyperactivity, then this also includes the impulsivity, right? So children who are inattentive, how are you going to see and how are you going to identify? Common complaints would be that the child doesn't listen. The child cannot concentrate. The child does not follow instructions. The child is disorganized, easily distracted, forgetful. अपनी चीजें स्कूल में भूल आता है हर रोज. अपनी डेस्क में चीजें रख के आ जाता है, अपनी किताबें भूल जाता है. Does not finish classwork or homework, especially classwork. रीजन वहां पर उसको डिस्ट्रैक्शन बहुत होती है, उसकी वजह से द चाइल्ड इज नॉट एबल टू कंप्लीट द वर्क एंड such children are quick to lose their interest in boring activities or if they are not actively engaged, right? Children who are impulsive, it seems that they are unable to control their immediate reaction or to think before they do not think before they act. So action पहले होता है, सोचते वो बाद में है, हमने सही किया गलत किया, और शायद कई बार सोचते भी नहीं है, कोई उनको बताता है तो उनको रियलाइज होता है. They find it difficult to wait to take turns. टीचर ने क्वेश्चन खत्म भी नहीं किया and teacher is saying raise your hand if you know the answer, and the child speaks out the answer without even raising hand. And every time you reinforce that you need to raise your hand, still they might not wait for their turn, because this is the problem they are suffering from. They have difficulty resisting immediate temptations or delaying gratification, which means if I want something without permission, they might get and grab it, right? Minor mishaps such as knocking things over a common issue. More such children who are impulsive, suffering from ADHD, might get into a lot of self-dangerous activities because of impulsiveness. वो इस तरीके से चलते हैं, इस तरीके से भागते हैं कि उनको चोट बहुत लगती है. So a lot of accidents or injuries or mishappenings would happen with such people. So these are like external behaviors which we can identify from. Hyperactivity takes many forms. A lot of children in childhood are hyperactive, but every time it does not mean that they suffer from hyperactivity disorder or ADHD. Normal hyperactivity is different, but when it is an ADHD symptom, under that hyperactivity means children are in constant motion, sunte hi nahi hai wo. Sitting in the entire 35 minutes period, they cannot do it. वो बीच में उठेंगे ही उठेंगे. They will keep fidgeting their hands. They will squirm. They will climb here and there. एक डेस्क से दूसरे डेस्क पे भागकर चले जाना बिना पेरेंट्स से, बिना टीचर से पूछे. पेरेंट्स वुड कम एंड टेल कि ऐसा लगता है इसके अंदर मोटर फिट है, भागता ही रहता है ना. बिना मतलब के बात करते रहना, मना करने पर भी बात करते रहना. एंड ADHD ज्यादातर बॉयज में पाया जाता है. Boys are 4 times likely to be diagnosed with ADHD. Right? Now, moving on to another externalized disorder, that is oppositional defiant disorder, ODD जिसको हम बोलते हैं. If a child might be too young and वो सिर्फ थोड़ा सा जिद्दी है, it's okay. But age appropriately, if you are stubborn, it's okay. However, if you are stubborn inappropriately and it does not match to your age, then it's a problem. These people are irritable, defiant, disobedient. They will reply back. They will behave in a hostile manner. चीजों को तोड़ेंगे, उठ के जाएंगे, कुर्सी फेंक देंगे, दरवाजा जोर से बंद करेंगे, बार बार ऐसा करेंगे. But unlike ADHD, rate of ODD in boys and girls are not very different. Boys and girls दोनों में ODD देखा गया है. So the ratio is almost similar. Once the ADHD is not treated, it might lead to ODD. And then if ODD is also not identified, it will lead to conduct disorder and then antisocial behavior. So this refers to age inappropriate actions, attitudes that violate family expectations. Societal norms को follow नहीं करते हैं. The personal or property rights of others. The behaviors typically of conduct disorder include being too aggressive, and their actions would cause harm to people. They might harm animals, they might harm property, school property, public property, and they also seriously violate the rules. So they might also show some externalized behaviors like verbal aggression, गालियां देना, जोर जोर से किसी को बहुत बुरे तरीके से बोलना और लिटरली वो वाली गालियां यूज करना जो शायद हम नॉर्मली यूज नहीं करते. Physical aggression, hitting, fighting, hostile aggression, inflicting injuries to others, proactive aggression, dominating and bullying others in the school. So these are all externalizing disorders. Then we move on to internalizing disorders. Separation anxiety disorder we have already discussed. More separation anxiety disorder is unique to younger children. शुरू में सभी के साथ होता है, लेकिन later on अगर ये बढ़ता जा रहा है, then it is a problem. So excessive anxiety or even panic experienced by children when they are separated from their parents. They have difficulty being in one room or a darker room alone. They are fearful of entering into new situations. They will cry, they will show tantrums, they will lie down on the floor and they would cry in such a way कि बस इतना tantrums होगा कि आप उसको संभाल नहीं पाएंगे. And such children also in younger age also they would make some suicidal gestures like मैं अपने आप को काट लूंगा, मैं ऐसे कर लूंगा, मैं मर जाऊंगा अगर आपने मेरी बात नहीं सुनी. Such kind of things. This is all separation anxiety. Another is childhood depression. So now let's understand that childhood depression is real. And they would experience or they would express their depression through physical, emotional, and cognitive, development times. And infants, छोटे छोटे जो बिल्कुल young जिनको सिर्फ रोना आता है, वो बच्चे भी कई बार बहुत passive हो जाते हैं, unresponsive हो जाते हैं अगर वो depressed होते हैं. Preschoolers may show a lot of withdrawal. They will not talk to anybody. They will not listen to the teacher. They will sit in one corner of the class. And sometimes children also show a lot of arguments. They will be eager to fight with others. और teenagers में जो depression होता है वो कैसा होता है? वो turn हो जाता है guilt and hopelessness में. So in childhood, depression is more, when you get into a lot of fight and a lot of arguments with the elders or maybe other children. But in teenage, it transfers into guilt and hopelessness and worthlessness. Okay. Then in children, there is another disorder which is called pervasive developmental disorder, which means autism. Autistic disorder, ASD, that is autism spectrum disorder. यहाँ पर सबसे important क्या है? That this disorder is on a spectrum. A restricted range of interest will be seen in such children. They have a strong desire for routine. अगर routine से हम उनको काम नहीं कराएंगे तो वो बच्चे कुछ नहीं कर पाते हैं. About 70% of children with autism will have intellectual disability also. And another 30% might be highly intellectual. जैसे कि आपका Albert Einstein, he was highly intellectual, but he was an autistic child, right? Children with autism experience profound difficulties in relating to other people. Communication का बहुत issue रहता है. Social communication behavior उनका बहुत खराब होता है. They are unable to initiate any social behavior. They seem unresponsive. They will show repetitive behavior. They are unable to share experiences or emotions with others. And you will see a lot of abnormalities in communication and language that persist over time with them. Many autistic children will also have speech problems. They will speak one word when they are very young. Okay. And also they might be, कुछ ऐसे वाले symptoms भी दिखेंगे कि हर चीज को बार-बार ठीक करते रहना and all of that. And such children need a lot of help of special educators and counselors in schools. Moving on to other children and adolescent disorder, that is eating disorder. हमने adolescence में पढ़ा था 11th class में भी कि हमारा eating disorder teenage में और adolescence में आ जाता है. So this means anorexia nervosa, bulimia nervosa, and binge eating. 3 eating disorders: anorexia nervosa, bulimia nervosa, and binge eating. Okay, anorexia nervosa में the individual has a distorted body image, right? They would see herself or himself as overweight, often refusing to eat, exercising compulsively, developing unusual habits such as refusing to eat at all in front of others. And anorexic may also lose a lot of amount of weight and even sometimes starve themselves to death. बुलिमिया नर्वोसा में ये चीज आगे बढ़ जाती है. Individual may eat excessive amounts of food at a particular time, and then they will use some medication, or maybe they would vomit to take out this food. खा लिया, अपने आप को सेटिस्फाई कर लिया और उसके बाद वॉशरूम में बैठे रहे, वॉमिटिंग करते रहे. Purge, they would purge and they would get into removing whatever they have ate. Now the frequent episodes are out of control. उनका जो binge eating है वो out of control होता है, इस वजह से वो binge eating करके फिर vomiting में चले जाते हैं. Right? So this is what is there in seen in when you talk about behavioral or developmental disorders, जो कि 18 years के अंदर के लोगों में नजर आते हैं. 18 years से under developmental disorders में there is another disorder which we can talk about, substance use disorder. Addictive behavior, whether it involves excessive intake of high calorie or such as alcohol, they would get into high calorie food eating, junk food eating involving the abuse of substances such as also alcohol, cocaine, smoking, drugs. So one of the most severe problems being faced by society today is the substance abuse, alcohol, cocaine, smoking. Now, disorders relating to maladaptive behaviors resulting from regular and consistent use of substance involved are called substance use disorders. So what are substance use disorders? When there is a maladaptive behavior, which is resulting from you being regularly using the substance to cope up with any kind of a challenge. Now, these disorders include problems associated with using and abusing the drugs, alcohol, cocaine, heroin, smoking, and the way people feel and behave. It is going to change completely how, because once you take these substances, your mind is altered. आपका सोचने का, आपका फील करने का, आपका बिहेवियर करने का पूरा तरीका चेंज हो जाएगा. And there are two subgroups of substance use disorders, those related to substance dependence and those related to substance abuse. So when I say substance abuse, which means there is a recurrent and significant adverse consequence related to the use of substance. People who are regularly taking drugs damage their family, social relationships, perform poorly at work, create physical hazards. So यहाँ पर substance abuse हो रहा है. But when you say substance dependence, there is intense craving. आप इतने depend हो गए हो उस substance पे, उस चीज पे कि आप addicted feel करते हो, आपको addiction हो गया है. And the person shows tolerance, withdrawal symptoms, क्योंकि tolerance बढ़ गया ना, आपने इतना substance abuse किया, इतना misuse किया कि अब आप उस पर depend हो चुके हो और उसकी वजह से आपका टॉलरेंस पावर इतना बढ़ गया है कि अब पहले जितना लेते थे आप, अब आपको डबल लेना पड़ रहा है, तो टॉलरेंस भी बढ़ गया. इससे आपका लोगों से विड्रॉल हो जाएगा. यू विल बी विड्रॉइंग फ्रॉम द फैमिली, विड्रॉइंग फ्रॉम द सोसाइटी, विड्रॉइंग फ्रॉम स्कूल, एंड विड्रॉल सिम्टम्स विल बी वेरी वेरी प्रोमिनेंट. एंड देन यू विल बी कंपल्सिव टू टेक ड्रग्स. कंपल्शन आ जाएगा आपके बिहेवियर में कि लेना ही लेना है. Tolerance means that person has to use more and more of substance to get the same effect and to to be in the normal, मतलब अपने आप को अच्छा फील कराने के लिए, ठीक फील कराने के लिए, नॉर्मल बिहेवियर के लिए आपका टॉलरेंस बढ़ गया. अब आपको थोड़ा सा लेने से कुछ फायदा नहीं होता. Your tolerance power has so much increased that now to have had the same effect you need to take more. Withdrawal means that when a person stops or cuts down on the use of psychoactive substances, that means substances that has the ability to change an individual's consciousness, mood, and thinking process, and you completely are withdrawn from everything. So three most common forms of substance abuse are alcohol abuse and dependence, heroin abuse and dependence, cocaine abuse and dependence, and even smoking if it is becoming a chain smoking. And effects of alcohol, you should know what are the effects of alcohol. See, ethyl alcohol is absorbed into the blood, carried into the central nervous system. So what is affected? Your brain and spinal cord, where it slows down your functioning completely, right? Because CNS, when we studied in grade 11, we have seen that how central nervous system is so important, and when uh, carrying out the functions of the entire body, it is happening from there. So पूरा आपका system ही slow हो जा रहा है. So it is depressing those areas in the brain that controls the judgment, the analysis, the logical reasoning, the inhibition. So here people become more talkative and friendly, and they feel more confident and happy, but they are not logical. As alcohol is absorbed, it affects other areas of the brain also. So for example, drinkers are unable to make sound judgments. Speech becomes less careful, less clear, and memory falters. So many people become emotional, loud, and aggressive. They would repeat things. So motor difficulties also increase कुछ चीजों में. For example, people become unsteady. They walk in a clumsy manner. They perform in a clumsy manner. गिरते पड़ते हुए चलते हैं. आपने कुछ देखा होगा, ज्यादा जब अल्कोहल हो जाता है तो वो कहीं पर आपको बेहोश भी मिलते हैं, कहीं गिरे पड़े भी मिलते हैं, रोड पे ही सो जाते हैं. So this is like the entire brain system has been altered here, and even simple activities they cannot perform. Vision becomes blurred. उनको दिखता भी कम है, चीजें साफ नहीं दिखती, ब्लर हो जाती हैं, चार चार भी लोग दिखने लग जाते हैं. Have trouble in hearing, they have difficulty in driving and solving simple problems. इसीलिए drinking and driving is always cautioned. हर जगह लिखा है don't drink and drive, because it absolutely clearly says that your cognitive functioning has been altered, right? And what happens when there is a heroin abuse and dependence? Heroin takes significantly interferes with your social and occupational functioning. Most abusers further develop a dependence on heroin, revolving their lives around the substance, building up a tolerance for it, and experiencing a withdrawal action when they stop taking it. तो अगर उन्होंने नहीं लिया तो वो फिर नॉर्मल फंक्शनिंग उनकी हो नहीं पाती है, तो इस वजह से इतना डिपेंडेंस हो जाता है कि उसके बिना वो चल ही नहीं पाते हैं. The most direct danger of heroin abuse is an overdose, which slows down the entire respiratory centers of the brain, almost paralyzing your breathing, and in many cases you will either land up in a hospital or you will be having instant death. आप on the spot मर सकते हो किसी भी तरीके के हेरोइन या कोकेन के डिपेंडेंस से. अगर आप रेगुलर कोकेन अब्यूजर हो तो क्या प्रॉब्लम्स आएंगी? Depression, fatigue, sleep problems, irritability, anxiety, and serious dangers. It has dangerous effects on your psychological functioning and physical well-being entirely. Now, इन सारे एडिक्शंस में अगर मैं सिर्फ एडिक्शंस की बात करूं तो सब्सटेंस एडिक्शन तो है ही, अल्कोहल एडिक्शन है, स्मोकिंग एडिक्शन है. इसके साथ एक और कैटेगरी है जिसे हम कहते हैं इंटरनेट एडिक्शन. So I would want all of you to also talk about the internet addiction and read about it, make pointers about it. One, the internet is an important tool for many people, but unfortunately, some people are over dependent on the internet in their daily activities. And this can cause damage to their daily life. Number two, it refers to a condition which is uncontrollable, markedly distressing, time-consuming, resulting in social, occupational, and financial difficulties. Number three, sudden rise in internet access has brought with it a wide range of problematic behaviors like online gaming, gambling online, shopping online, internet abuse, and social networking sites, and all represent the problematic internet use. Number four, symptoms of addiction could be compared to other addictive behaviors also because the same dopamine is released. So methods of assessing excessive computer internet use are limited. We cannot know whether we are actually addicted or not. और हम जब किसी को कहते हैं तो वो मानता नहीं है. So early diagnosis could help the child suffer or people to suffer from this addiction before they face further distress in their life. See, internet is good, but only when we are using it positively. It can be harmful if we use it immorally. The teaching of positive attitude in the use of internet is necessary. We need to understand till when it is a positive use of internet, right? इंटरनेट एडिक्शन में क्या क्या आता है? साइबर रिलेशनशिप एडिक्शन हो सकता है आपको. एडिक्शन इज इन्वॉल्व इन ऑनलाइन रिलेशनशिप्स. नेट कंपल्शन हो सकता है आपको. ऑनलाइन गेमिंग हो सकती है. ऑनलाइन शॉपिंग हो सकती है. कंप्यूटर गेम एडिक्शन हो सकता है. एंड ऑब्सेसिव ऑनलाइन गेमिंग भी हो सकती है. So here also, what are the signs of internet addiction? Withdrawal, tolerance, obsessive thoughts about the internet. They feel absolute pleasure when they are talking about or they're wanting to use internet. Okay, and the other negative effects would be you become argumentative with your family members. Your academic performance goes down. Social isolation happens. A lot of fatigue. You love to eat junk food at that point of time. You don't want to get up from your seat. Loss of interest in other activities. And you lose all sense of time. कितने घंटे आपने यूज किया आपको नहीं पता. Right? So studies suggest that when individuals addicted to internet gaming are engrossed in such games, certain pathways in their brains are triggered in the same way, and that a drug addict brain is affected by a particular substance. So the gaming stimulates a neurological response that influences feelings of pleasure, reward, and the result is shown as addictive behavior. And the last one, the developmental disorder could be intellectual disability. Three symptoms, three important features of intellectual disability. Below average intellectual functioning, which means IQ of approximately 70 or below. Deficits or impairments in adaptive behavior. Adaptive behavior means the areas of communication, self-care, home living, social or interpersonal skills issues, functional academic skills work, or any work related issues. Nothing will be at par. Self-help skills, अपना काम वो नहीं कर पाते खुद से. And then the third feature is it is manifested before the age of 18 years. So what do you mean? As per AAMD, that is Association on Mental Deficiency, the American Association on Mental Deficiency says, significantly sub-average general intellectual functioning existing concurrently with deficits in adaptive behavior and manifesting during the developmental period means the person has intellectual disability. Okay, and in intellectual deficiency, the characteristics of individuals with different levels of mental retardation would be clearly are mentioned in table number 4.2 in your grade 12 psychology book. It talks about mild, moderate, severe. So mild, moderate, severe, the three categories, basically four categories, but mild, moderate, severe, and profound all comes in almost same category. So when I say mild, IQ range 50 to 70, moderate IQ range 35 to 49, severe IQ range 20 to 34, and profound is below 20. So you can go to that entire box, read it, learn it, and then you're ready. So you will be able to see that what do you mean by self-help. In mild, what do you mean by self-help skills which are present and which are not present? Speech and communication, academic performance, social skills, vocational adjustment, and adult living. All of the entire description is given in the book of your grade 12. So you're going to read from there and you're going to learn from there, though we have already discussed about it in chapter 1 also in detail by me. So I hope this entire video is going to be really making sense and you will not have any further doubts. However, if you have any further doubts, you may definitely write it on the group and I shall revert back. Thank you so much and have a wonderful day.